For months, families in Creektown in Odukpani local government area of Cross River State had been living in a growing fear. People were going missing. Neighbors, friends and relatives would simply disappear without any explanation. No bodies were found. No ransom demands were made. People simply vanished, leaving behind grieving families with no answers. Nobody knew what was happening, and nobody could have imagined what was truly hiding in the forest on the edge of their community. On Tuesday, May 26, 2026, something changed. Residents near the forest area in Ukumita community heard something very disturbing. Sounds of struggling and cries were coming from the direction of the bush. People stopped what they were doing and listened. Something was clearly wrong in those trees. The community had already been on edge for some time. The increasing number of missing persons had been a source of growing alarm. The cries from the bush were the final trigger that set everything in motion. The councillor representing Creektown Ward 1, alongside other community leaders and youths, decided that enough was enough. They brought the situation directly to the chairman of Odukpani local government area, formally raising the alarm about the increasing cases of missing persons in the area. The council chairman took the matter seriously and moved quickly. He contacted security agencies immediately, and soon a coordinated response was underway. Men of the Nigerian Army and the Tactical Special Forces Squad, supported by community youths and elders, began combing the bushes around the community, determined to find out what was happening in that forest. What the security operatives and community members were about to find would shock everyone. Intelligence had linked a man to the disappearance and murder of a recent victim. The team led the joint team to an isolated hut deep inside the forest in the community. Someone had built a home in the middle of the bush, far from public eyes and from anyone who might ask questions. As the team approached the hut and attempted to secure the area, the man inside noticed them coming. His name was Akaninyene Eretus, a 40-year-old man originally from Obodokara in Akwa Ibom State, who had been living in this forest community. The moment he realized the security operatives were surrounding his hideout, he made a desperate move. He ran back inside the hut, trying to reach and retrieve a weapon. But the tactical team moved faster. They quickly surrounded the hut, cutting off his escape routes. Akaninyene tried to flee into the deeper forest, where the thick vegetation might have hidden him, but the operatives were too quick. He was overpowered and taken into custody before he could escape. After Akaninyene was arrested and secured, the security operatives and community members began searching the compound around his forest hut. What they found buried in that ground was beyond anything they had prepared themselves for. They were shallow graves, not one or two, but approximately 8 separate pits dug in the ground around the hut. Plantain crops had been planted directly on top of the graves. From a distance, or to anyone who did not know better, the area would simply look like a small garden where someone was growing plantains. It was a clever and calculated disguise, suggesting that whoever had made these graves had been thinking carefully about concealing their crimes for a long time. The security operatives began exhuming the graves. 2 bodies were ultimately recovered and positively identified. These remains were transported to the hospital mortuary for preservation, identification, and autopsy. During interrogation, Akaninyene Eretus began to talk. What he told detectives from the State Criminal Investigation Department revealed a story that was both horrifying and deeply sad, though nothing could justify what he had done. He confessed to the murders of the 2 men named Okun and Okokun, killed on May 24th and 25th, 2026 respectively. He described how one of his victims had been killed while asleep, attacked without warning, in a moment of complete vulnerability. The other victim had been murdered with a machete, but the most disturbing part of his confession was his motive. He explained that he had killed because of something that had happened 29 years earlier. When Akaninyene was just a young man, a communal clash had torn through his life with devastating consequences. In that conflict, his parents were killed, his 2 elder brothers were also murdered, his entire family, the people who were supposed to be his foundation and his future, were wiped out in a single communal tragedy. For 29 years, Akaninyene had lived with that pain. He had carried the grief and the anger for nearly 3 decades, unable to let go of what had been done to his family, unable to find peace or healing. He told investigators that he had wanted justice. He said he had wanted to right the wrongs that had been done to his parents and his brothers. In his twisted thinking, the killings he committed were a form of revenge, an attempt to balance a terrible debt that he believed the community owed him. But of course, the people he murdered were not necessarily those responsible for what happened to his family 29 years ago. His victims were not the perpetrators of the communal violence, they were simply members of the community, people going about their lives who became targets for a man consumed by old rage and grief. Akaninyene did not act alone. He confessed that he had carried out his crimes with the help of a woman. Investigators later identified her as 35-year-old Udwaresien, who was arrested alongside the primary suspect and taken into custody. According to Akaninyene's account, Udwaresien played a specific and crucial role in the killings. She was used to lure victims. A woman approaching someone raises less immediate suspicion than a man, and Udwar allegedly used this to draw victims toward the forest hut where Akaninyene was waiting. Once a victim was brought to the hut, Udwar would help restrain them, making it easier for Akaninyene to carry out the killing. The last murder, the one that triggered the cries that alerted the community on May 26, 2026, was said to have been carried out with Udwar's direct assistance. Both suspects were placed in the custody of the State Criminal Investigation Department as investigators worked to piece together the full picture of their crimes. Reports circulating online and through community sources claimed that Akaninyene had confessed to killing approximately 30 people, all of them being community members who had gone missing without a trace. However, these claims have not been confirmed, and the police have recovered only 2 corpses for now. Community youths, shaken by the discovery, intensified their own search operations after the arrest. They combed the bush, looking for other possible hideouts or additional evidence of crimes that might have been committed over a longer period. However, the Cross River State Police Command, speaking through its public relations officer, urged residents to be very cautious. The command confirmed that investigations were focused on 2 murders at the time, and that the claims of 30 killings remained unverified. The police warned against spreading unconfirmed information, which they said was capable of causing unnecessary panic in the community. The discrepancy remained unresolved. For the people of Creektown, the discovery shook the foundations of their community. Families who had been waiting for news of missing relatives now faced the possibility that their loved ones might be among those buried in that forest. The realization that a man they may have seen around their community had been living in the nearby bush carrying out these acts were deeply disturbing. Akaninyene and Udwaresien remained in the custody of the State Criminal Investigation Department. As investigations continued, the police confirmed that charges would follow after forensic and legal processes were concluded. Under Nigerian law, murder is one of the most serious crimes a person can commit, carrying the death penalty. The circumstances of the case, including the alleged killing of multiple victims, the premeditation involved in constructing a hidden hut in the forest, the deliberate concealment of grapes under plantain crops, and the use of an accomplice to lure victims, all pointed to a level of planning and cold calculation that the courts would need to fully address. For Akaninyene, who claimed his actions were driven by loss of his family 29 years earlier, the law would have to weigh his stated motivations against the terrible reality of what he had done. Grief and personal tragedy, no matter how genuine, cannot justify taking innocent lives. The families of Ukon and Okokun, and potentially many others, deserved justice. As more updates emerge in this case, the public will be promptly notified. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories.